I think a few people talked about these Super Bowl ads on Clubhouse, the platform that we chatted about a couple of weeks ago on Insider. And since then, we've been in some rooms here and there. Mike, I know you've been quite active on Clubhouse. John, you as well. I've been in a few rooms, led a couple. Jackie, you as well. I think, it's still hard. I think the jury's still out on Clubhouse and its effectiveness, its usefulness for the food and beverage industry. I think there's been some good conversations that have come out of it. But I guess, the good conversations, how much further can they go is the question for me.
It's a good question.
It's a fine question, Ray. I think there are going to be a lot of good conversations that happen in Clubhouse. The problem is that you're going to have to wait an awfully long time until a good conversation happens, or, you're going to have to be sitting there mining for gems, Ray. Which is, I guess, the term that they're using on Clubhouse for dropping serious knowledge bombs. But you have to spend a lot of time to get through a lot of speakers to find the things that you're interested in. I think a lot of the topics are still really quite general. But we've seen some interesting people come in and start to interact too. Like, for instance, Guy Raz from the How I Built This podcast, another fine podcast, has been on and, leading discussions and giving chances to interact. And he probably heard the Taste Radio crew and decided that Clubhouse was a good idea.
Well, interestingly enough, Guy Raz and Ari Raz, one of the co-founders of Once Upon a Farm, are, in fact, brothers. So perhaps he has heard about Taste Radio, and I wouldn't be surprised if he has. That being said, the other thing about Clubhouse that I'm not totally clear on is who it's for and what demographic is really being targeted by the platform. When I am on Clubhouse, I see a lot of people who are in my cohort, my age group, that is, and less people than you would see on sort of a newish social platform like TikTok, which seems to be much more for a younger audience. Jackie, I'm given that you're the youngest person in the crew here, and happy birthday, by the way, happy belated birthday. Do you find Clubhouse when you're on there, do you see people who are sort of younger or younger minded, or is it, because of the conversations we're having, does it feel like a little bit of an older platform, or people, a platform for older people?
I would say it's definitely a mix. I'm seeing more people my age join as of late. So I always get the notification that like a friend of mine has joined and to welcome them in a group. I've seen an uptick lately of people more around my age, but it definitely leans a little bit older, maybe like 30s, 40s rather than late 20s or mid 20s.
Silicon Valley building a platform for themselves. I think that's generally what happens in the first place. You have investors and tech folks who they're using themselves to test. They know how to build these things. They've got the growth hackers out there bringing people in, and they've done a pretty good job of making this a platform for thought leaders and influencers, so that and when thought leaders and influencers do things, obviously they influence people to do it. So I think the platform is primarily built right now for early movers, and that's who we've seen jump into the platform first, which is a genius way to build a platform.
I think it's also really interesting, first of all, to watch a new platform while it's still relatively, rough and just at that point of getting buzz. But I think it's also really interesting that this is happening during a pandemic where people's pandemic behaviors are, sort of influencing and driving this. Case in point for me is, I logged on, I think it must have been like 9 or 9:30 Eastern time on a Friday night. And there's like, piles of people talking about CPG investment or this and that. Like, that's stuff that if there weren't a pandemic, well, first of all, I wouldn't have opened the app at 9:30 on a Friday night, and all these other people probably wouldn't be either. So I think, and that's in no way to hate on it. It's just interesting that is sort of like the thing that's incubating this right now. And, I know that's something I feel like we've talked about over and over again on here as it pertains to our industry, all the, new products that have come out and the things that are hatching out of this pandemic. And, this is just one more of them that it'll be neat to look back someday at it.
Yeah, I think
Agreed.
also kind of building on what Mike was saying, I think it just needs focus going forward. I was like perusing a lot of the groups and looking at just what people are doing to make it more of a weekly thing or something that's more structured that people know at this time to this time they're going to be tuning in. So it's more like a weekly like show that you're tuning in, you're interacting with rather than you're just jumping into something that's live. You don't know how long you're going to be in there and you don't really know what we're going to be talking about. So I think getting buy-in and creating those like small communities within the platform is going to allow it to kind of scale.